Good morning. It is Tuesday, 7:30 pre-New York, October 4th. So going with the pre-New York analysis and trade ideas for the New York session today. Starting at the economic calendar here, we have a few Fed speakers, FOMC member Williams, Mester speaking at 9 and 9:15. We're pretty light on data. There's only something coming out at 10, the factory orders and the JOLTS job openings. Typically, they're not the most impacting data points. The Fed doesn't really, if there's something that's really high or really low, maybe they'll have a short-term impact, but I'm not expecting too much significance put onto these two data points. More so, aligning with making sure that the Fed speakers are still hawkish in their intent. If they're still speaking the same hawkish rhetoric that inflation is too high, and it is their only priority right now, right? So that's what I'll be looking for in the newsroom. All right, so for the investor sentiment so far, the dollar is still within its pullback structure, having pushed new lower lows here, breaking previous lows here within this pullback structure. From new 30-year highs, we have had this new lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, new lower low. So we are forming some clear bearish structure, and we are still maintaining this bearish structure, but we are starting to dig into stronger levels of potential support here, where we have, the daily break of structure in the 4-hour demand zone coming up right around here that we are coming close to. So we may end up seeing potential slowdown of the US dollar here, maybe a pullback before coming back down, or, we don't know what's going to happen later on, but there is some demand around this level. So it'll be interesting to see if the dollar can get a little bit of support here. So dollar's maintaining that bearish pullback structure. Looking at the equities. Now, on the volatility index from these highs, we are pushing to new lower lows. We're near the lows of the past week after the initial spike, with this bullish structure going on, that correlates with this overall bearish structure on the Dow Jones index. So you can see that we have dipped below 30,000, and we even came as low as 28,600 around before forming some sort of double bottom, seeing sellers exhaust and seeing the pullback coming in, and now we are printing new highs above this 4-hour previous lower high, the neckline of this double bottom here. So I am expecting potential further continuation of this pullback structure. We could even come to retest this level of liquidity here with these weekly key levels and make our way back up to this previous sell side liquidity zone and the weekly key level here at 3,600 around, even deeper to 31K, and still be extremely bearish and potentially continue the sells from there. So we are within a pullback structure within the investor sentiment across all asset classes, really. And looking at our equities, right? So the US 30 is up 1.26 so far, US 500 and US 100. So all US indices are up in the pre-markets. UK is up as well heavily. The DAX, the Australian market, are both up very high, almost 3%, which is pretty insane for a pre-market move here. And only China index is lagging behind, but China is usually not really correlated with the rest. So overall optimistic sentiment. You can see here US dollar versus its pairs, relatively flat and weaker on the GBP and euro by a long shot. The yen is also relatively flat. Only the euro and the pound again is pretty strong. So our risk currencies are the strongest. The euro and the GBP gaining the most ground today. And yeah, so GBP is up on everything except for the euro so far. So be interesting to see potentially on our pairs here, gold and GU. We do see that the pullback structure on gold is matching the rest of the asset classes here. So we are extremely bullish from new lows here with aggressive new high, higher low, aggressive new high, higher low, aggressive new highs, and potentially having some continuations here. We are still overall bearish, of course. If we look at the weekly time frame, we have just came and printed new lower lows on the weekly time frame. We have come back above this previous weekly low, but we are coming into this zone here where we got these candle bodies and these candle bodies right here. That is a potential resistance zone right here, right? And we've just tapped into that right now. So, so keeping that in mind, on the daily time frame, we have a clean break above this previous wicks here. So we do have a shift in market structure on the daily time frame from this lower high to lower low, new lower high here, lower low, aggressive new highs. So we do have this level broken. That's why I lined this out, 1688, as a break, daily bullish break of structure here. So I'm going to just take off this text here that's no longer valid, right? The active structure is here, but we do have on the daily time frame this level right here, which is our daily supply level, right? So that is an interesting level here to look for the higher time frame sells, in my opinion, around 1730. If we do see some signs of rejection, we could end up getting a nice sell-off from this area. But right now we're sort of in the middle of the range here on the higher time frames, where it would be much nicer to wait for potentially a pullback to retest these previous wicks and the weekly and daily key levels here for a continuation, or wait again for this to continue to the upside and look for potential sells from that zone. But right here, we're right into the middle of the range, like I said, and we have also this bearish trend line that is in path right here, right? So the bearish trend line from these highs connected with the 1800 lower high, we are coming to test that very soon. So either way here, I'm going to be following my system, and my system right now is identifying the trend as bullish. We have daily is bullish. We have the 4 hours bullish here with the new structure being formed around 1674. Again, I'm going to draw that out. This is the most recent bullish structure at this point, the 4 hour break of structures, which was this high that was broken. So we could come down to retest this and still be bullish here. We also have the 4 hour demand, which is at higher low. Okay. Now looking at the 1 hour, it does look like we're potentially going to get a setup near the New York Open here, because we have this 1 hour break of structure that we broke new highs in London session. We had this pullback, and now we're retesting this zone here and having a wick rejection. So we may end up getting some buys here in the New York session here. Playing the optimistic sentiment, playing the pullback structure, and playing this break and retest into this potential rejection zone from this high into the candle bodies here. We can get, if we see what we need to see on the lower time frames, sign of exhaustion reversal, we are going to be taking some buys here, or I'm going to be taking some buys here. And this also represents a potential buy. So my trade ideas for gold in this session: buys from this level, or if we continue to the downside and retest this level, I'm also going to be looking to buy around 1695, right? So far we're holding above 1700, so we may end up getting this squeeze today, retest the highs around 1712, and potentially keep pushing to the upside towards that higher time frame target, 1725, which is at top of that higher time frame range. So these are the trade ideas for gold, looking for buys. Now on GU, it's going to be very similar in structure. I'm going to go on the weekly time frame very quickly. We are still bearish, with this being the most recent weekly break of structure here, this low, lower, high, new, aggressive new lower low. So below 1.17 on the weekly time frame, we are still in seller's territory on the higher time frames. Now on the daily time frame, even with this aggressive pullback, we're only coming up to this previous daily break of structure here. So this previous daily low was broken aggressively, but this is the structure on the daily time frame, right? And we're coming and rejecting that right now. So we are still within bearish territory on the daily and the weekly time frames, regardless of this strong pullback. So as opposed to gold, where gold was breaking new daily structure, GU has not been as strong since we've had this aggressive downside move from the tax cut plan. Now they're backing away from that, which is causing this pullback in the correction of the move, but still is higher time frame bearish territory with dollar domination and just the pound being in the shitter. So keeping that in mind, the daily and the weekly timeframes are bearish, but can't deny that the 4 hour is bullish here, right? So we have a bullish 4 hour trend, and the most recent structure is this high, higher low, new higher high. So technically, based on the 4 hour structure, we are bullish above 1.1235, right? So we could come all the way back down here and potentially have continuations, even if we start rejecting this liquidity zone here, right? Again, this is based on the 4 hour structure being bullish now. Zooming into the 1 hour, we have similar price action to gold, except I prefer gold because we aren't right below these daily and 4 hour supply zones. So I do prefer gold setup. However, I'm going to mark these out still. But I'm deciding right now I'm going to be focusing on gold, given the higher time frame structure is more aligned with the bulls on gold rather than GU, and for the simple reason here that we have this daily break of structure here, bearish key level 1.14 that we're still below. So for me to get any to hop into any buys on GU, I would need a new high, a new break of structure, and then retest these key levels from above, and then we could potentially get the continuation, right? But for me, it's too risky taking buys here because we could end up just selling off here if we fail to break this a second time here. So I will hop in the sells once we have confirmations of these rejections and we're starting to flip the structure. And then once we start flipping the structure, then we could get potential nice juicy retests of of whatever structure is starting to develop at that time. But that's it. So today I'm going to be focusing on gold unless we have this breakout to the upside. So I'm going to set an alert right above this zone here. Once we start breaking this zone, we could potentially get some further upside. Or high risk sells in this zone, but again, I'm not going to go counter to the 4 hour trend, so I need that to reverse. So that is it for today. Just going to be focusing on gold. If we go in the 1 minute real quick, we already do have this reversal ABC setup that we're coming to retest now. So potential buys are in play. Like right now, we're close to the New York Open, so I'm thinking that this is going to shoot up right at New York Open, given the trend confirmations, the investor sentiment, and the retest of this liquidity zone and the lower time frame, reversal confirmation. So, buying at this level would be pretty nice.